Okay. Right. This is a special video message for the Minerals Planning Committee. Hello, you councillors. So, dear councillor, this is a video we're making specifically for you. Now, today is Tuesday, a week before you make the decision as to when you take a view on the application for the exploratory well at Bramley-Moore Lane. And at the moment, I have verbal permission to speak, but we're not sure. Only yesterday we weren't going to have any representation at the meeting. So I'm recording this to hopefully get my point across to you in case we're not allowed to speak. And I'll probably email it to you before the meeting because at the moment I'm not certain that I'm speaking there. So that's the purpose of this. What I'm going to do is give some proper planning arguments. So first of all, we'll start with planning arguments as to why you should oppose this application. Then we'll move on to the cumulative effects, the costs, the potential costs arising, and the politics from that. So a summary there. So hopefully keep it quite tight, and because you may be minded, I know that you have to make your decision based on planning law, and it's very complicated. We've got the report here from the planning inspector, which I must admit I was very disappointed with. And everyone tries to make planning law more tricky. It's a case of balancing costs and benefits. But because there are hardly any benefits from an exploratory well, you've got to go to the Derbyshire Minerals Plan, and as he said, the principal policy in the Derbyshire Development Plan that relates to proposals for gas exploration of policy MP13 mineral exploration, which states that proposals for mineral exploration which require planning permission will be permitted provided that their impact on the environment is acceptable and they would not cause irreparable or unacceptable damage to interests and acknowledged environmental importance. You have to decide whether the impact of this development is environmentally acceptable. That's it in a nutshell. Now there's other things, and Jenny will speak after me about the green belt, and we've got cast iron arguments for the green belt that take down the arguments here that the visual intrusion, even though it's temporary, it has to be viewed as permanent in the green belt thing because the people have done this before. We've got clauses with that, so I'm going to leave that to Jenny. The noise comes down to, is it environmentally acceptable? And again, I'm going to leave this to Richard, but if you read this environmental report, it comes down to the fact that the background noise of this development will not be within acceptable guidance, and your planning officer is just saying, but we'll regulate it. One of the specifics Richard will probably mention is the fact that the top drive gives out 100 decibels and it's 40 metres up and it's unbaffleable. And this is in a very, very quiet area. Natalie, who's on our committee, lives on the street 300 metres from the well. She says that there was a generator down her road because they had some roadworks just last week, and this generator running overnight, she couldn't sleep. Now, this drilling rig is going to be 300 metres. If you live there, it's environmentally unacceptable and it's going to make you ill. Traffic is a huge concern, and we just disagree with the fact, with INEOS's statement, their traffic statement. We've done our own traffic surveys. They're saying that the traffic of HGVs will increase 17%. That is manipulation of the figures they've got, because they monitored the traffic that's there now and classed everything bigger than a car as an HGV. We did a traffic and then they looked at their own traffic figures and said that HGVs are over 3.5 tonnes or something. So they've included transit vans as current traffic and nothing the other way around. We've done our own traffic surveys on our figures. The increase in traffic is well over 100% and maybe 200%. And these are not just skip lorries at 3.5 tonnes. These are lorries greater than 32 tonnes. So the increase in traffic down that road will be massive. This is not environmentally acceptable. If you look at the safety aspect, which can be, there's public health issues here, but they're going to take away the bollards at the crossroads between Snowdon Lane and Main Road in order to get the wagons round. That is a dangerous junction. They've in the original planning inspection, they had missed out some of the accidents that have been in the area that we've found using a different web search. So it's more dangerous than they make it out, and that particular junction, I know it's dangerous. I've had 2 traffic accidents in my life. One of them was there, and they're proposing to take away street furniture, which makes the junction safer. And at the other end, to get the lorries through at the other end of Snowden Lane in Colaston, they're proposing to stop people parking on the road in order to get their lorries through, and they're having to convoy things around the mini roundabout. If you've been there, it is environmentally unacceptable, the traffic impacts. There's something else which I would call it, to call into account the certainty of this thing. In my objection, in Eckington Against Fracking's objection, in the pro forma objections that we circulated, and you've got hundreds of, the proximity of Appinole Airport, we brought up concerns of that. It's 900 metres away, direct, and the well would be directly on the flight path. Our calculations show that an aeroplane on its normal approach will clear the top of the mark across the rig by 11 metres. Now to us, that isn't safe. That needs investigating. It's not even mentioned in your planning officer's report. There's no mention of it, yet it was in hundreds of objections. I wouldn't have minded if he'd mentioned it and dismissed it. The CAA haven't responded, yay or nay, and there's a possibility of venting gas, which the CAA should be aware of. So these are serious concerns we have about the planning legitimacy of this document. And you are taking a view today as to whether to accept your planning officer's report and accept the proposal and not challenge it at the public inquiry, and just seek to put some controls on it, some conditions. Now, all we ever wanted as Eckington Against Fracking is a level playing field. We feel that there are that many areas of dispute, of contention, that need clearing up and need full hearing. We feel you need to reject this to get the council to put their full legal weight behind, so that there is a fair playing field with INEOS on one side and the council on the other. And Eckington Against Fracking will join you. We have the knowledge of this document, and we'll be Rule 6 people. But to put Eckington Against Fracking, a community group with very little resources, against a multinational like INEOS is not a level playing field. We need the council to come down on the side of the people, to recognise that there are things that need investigating in this, and to go through the forensic process of a public inquiry. If you follow your officer's recommendations, you will only be arguing about conditions. There will be a pre-inquiry meeting where there will be a statement of common ground, and unless you instruct your legal team that you want to oppose it, they will agree as common ground the traffic's okay, the noise is okay, the green belt is okay, and they will not challenge these things that need challenging on planning grounds, on public health grounds, and public safety grounds. So that's the reason why in the planning law that you need to object to this. Cumulative effects are dealt with very badly here, and Richard Harrington, the minister, in a debate that was called by Lee Rowley in Westminster, said recently that the cumulative effects of any planning decision in this process need to be taken into account. Now, since this planning document was first published, we've got 2 more wells being dealt with nearby, Hart Hill and Woodsets. So there are more wells in the area, and there will be more wells in the area. But the immediate cumulative effect, if you grant planning permission for this well, let's say they drill it, and it's just an exploratory well, it will get out a section to go back to the laboratory, and they will test the sample for the gases. And if there's enough gas in there, the first thing you will get is another application, and that will be to frack the well. Well, they'll call it testing, because fracking is a certain amount of water needs to be reached, and because they haven't drilled horizontally, they probably won't reach that volume. But it will involve pumping water and frack fluids, flooding the well, and then getting the frack trucks in with a pump with the pressure, and they're extremely noisy, and they will be then forcing that water under pressure underground. We know Marsh Lane is on mine workings. We know there are faults in that field. They're on their documents. They will be exposed then. There's huge things. So there will be huge objections. So the first cumulative effect you will feel if this is passed is another planning application, this time with all the infrastructure in place, but a very risky process being done, and you'll be asked to to give them planning permission for that, and there will again be thousands of objections from the local community. If that isn't enough, the other thing this well is doing is a listening well. And what's it listening to? It's listening to other wells in the locality. So if you let this one go ahead, you will get lots more applications for more well pads and more wells. And if they are going to be productive wells, they're going to need EIAs. So this is just the beginning of the cumulative effects of just giving this planning permission the nod through. You must oppose it now, and then we will see how the planning inspector, the public inspector goes. We need you to be on our side to make it a level playing field, so the truth comes out on this, and we don't embark on this first step to a cumulative approach for the gas field, which will cost us, will cost your population, the people who vote for you. It will cost us health. It will cost huge environmental impacts on our communities, and there will be costs on the council because of the cumulative effects. The cost of policing Preston New Road, about £5 million. That will be Derbyshire costs. Even I know there's an injunction in place against illegal protest, and Eglinton Against Fracking in no way condone illegal protest, but legal protest will be there. There will be a lot of people, hundreds, at that gate with placards, and they will need to be policed, because we will not stop protesting. We know that this is bad for the environment and it's bad for the planet. So we will not stop. So if you just put this through on the nod and just argue about conditions, you are opening a Pandora's box of costs going through time for the council. And of course, politically, we've got a room full of people. Hopefully, we'll have a room full of people looking at you. Yesterday, I'm speaking on Tuesday, you decided not to take a decision on the identical application that INEOS submitted. That means you've given up your right there to decide on that. So the decision you have to make today is whether to, at the forthcoming public inquiry, to order your legal team, Derbyshire County Council's legal team, to fight this. And you have the grounds, you have planning grounds, green belt, traffic, noise. The NPPF backs sustainable development. There is nothing in this project that is sustainable. I can go through, and other speakers after me, I hope, will go through. There are a lot of policies, but if you have any doubt in your mind that this is safe, if you want to make sure that it gets examined thoroughly in a fair court, like judicial thing, you have to object to it. If you what's the word? It's if you secede with it. If you just put this through on the nod, the public will see that you have not only chosen not to process the second one, which you could have stopped, but you've dodged a decision here. You must today, or at the planning meeting on Monday, you must make the decision to contest this at the public inquiry. The people need you on their side. We need the council to stand up to the people, and then we'll let the planning inspector decide. But you must, for your conscience, while you've been elected by people have voted for you to look after their interests, not the interests of a big firm coming in from the outside. I hope you looked at the previous video I sent you that shows that this gas is not needed for energy security. It is the feedstock for a plastics industry. There are no material benefits for the community here. The benefits for Derbyshire will be vanishingly small. You may be thinking of taxes coming in. The costs of the road repairs will outweigh everything. The cost of the policing will dwarf any income coming in. This is a bad plan for Derbyshire. It's a bad plan for Derbyshire County Council, and I urge you, please oppose this plan. Stand with us at the public inquiry, and let's get to the bottom of this. Thank you very much for your time.